How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Nerdy Basement Podcast. And I'm here today speaking to Sam Benjamin, star of The Payday, also the co-writer of The Payday. Sam, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Listen, man, I'll be honest with you right off the rip. I've been waiting years to speak to you. There was a lot of
Oh,
buzz. Listen, I've been keeping my tabs on you since 2017, 2018, the whole Zack Snyder stuff, Green Lantern theories that were going around. So I was like, the offer came around, across our table, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's definitely talk to Sam. We need to catch up on some business. So, how's everything been since then? You've been on a couple shows. You're writing your own films now. You're starring in this one. You co-wrote it with Kyla. Tell me how was that whole process for you?
well, starting with the co-writing with Kyla, obviously the Payday has just come out in the US and it's on Amazon and iTunes and all the other digital platforms like Redbox and Vudu and all them. And it's kind of was started in 2010 in a way. That was when Kyla and I met in the Lyric Theatre in London, and we just really hit it off. We were in a show together, not acting with each other, but it was a series of short plays, and we just hit it off on movies and music, and we just similar vibes, similar mentality, and we particularly bonded over 90s films like White Men Can't Jump, Set It Off, Out of Sight, Money Train, things like this. So when we were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to do a movie like that one day? And
Right.
years went by and we made a short film, and then years went by, and then we thought, well, Sam Bradford, who made the short, he came to us and he said, listen, we've been waiting for too long. Let's get this ball rolling. Let's get to it. So The Payday is, although it's a genre movie and very much a nod to some of our favorite inspirations, it's also very much a reflection of Kyla and I's friendship and connection, and also, I guess, our experiences coming up in life, I guess.
Right. So yeah, you mentioned in Double Cross, you guys, this is basically expanding on that Double Cross story. How did you guys go back and revisit that to add to it, flesh it out, and turn it from a short film and short story to this feature film, and taking all those influences and meshing it all together?
So for the listeners who or watchers who don't know, we made a short film called Double Cross with characters that had the same names as the characters in The Payday, and same energy, same vibe, or similar energy, similar vibe. But I think when we realized we wanted to make a full-length feature film, we thought, let's not be bound by what we've created in the short. What would we do if we just kept that energy, but what kind of story could we tell from the ground up to make it serve a story as a feature film story, rather than trying to spin off or be stuck in with the short. So hopefully we got a nice balance of that, and you can check out the short film. It's on Amazon Prime. For anyone who wants to see it, it's 8 minutes long. You can watch it. You can watch it or not watch it. As regards to The Payday, it won't affect.
Right.
There's no direct link, but maybe it's a multiverse spin-off story now.
Hey, listen, we're in a day and age of entertainment where everything is all centered around the multiverse. So I think it was
Yeah,
fine. If this is something multiversal, listen, I say go all in and listen, make it work.
there
So
you
this is
go.
something you're essentially getting into the writing of screenplays and writing films. Is this a was your opportunity to start really flexing those muscles and kind of get into the groove of doing something other than just acting in films and TV shows?
Yes, and also the acting desires fuel the
Mhm.
screenwriting. There's been many actors who have written their own projects to be in, like the Ben Afflecks, the Michaela Coles, Sly Stallone, Clint Eastwood. People that have created projects
Mhm.
for themselves to be in. So I don't think that's anything new. And once you become an actor, you start getting passionate about what stories you want to tell. So, and also sometimes it's as simple as this: you you might audition for 10 roles, and you might not connect to the roles as much as other roles that you want to play, and B, you just might not get picked for those 10 roles. So then you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm not going to wait forever for the kind of role that I want to play. So that was why Kyla and I thought, you know what, we're gonna take power into our own hands, and we're gonna write it ourselves.
Right. It does. So this movie, as I was watching, it's fun. It's comedic. It has some the twists and turns that you expect of the genre. Obviously, as you mentioned, it is a genre film. There is some inspirations other than some of those 90 flicks that you just mentioned previously. What were some of the other films that you guys took inspiration from to kind of hit those genre plot points?
Ocean's 11 is that series is definitely one of the big inspirations, and also we've had some people compare it to proper throwback movies from, say, the 60s, like The Italian Job, the original with Michael Caine, or even Charade, which I think was 60s, which had Cary Grant in it. So it kind of, and there's another movie, a Hitchcock movie called To Catch a Thief. It's very much a caper from the 50s or 60s, and very much about a man and a woman. They've got the sexual chemistry, but they're at odds with wanting to, con or steal something that they shouldn't be stealing. So there's a little bit of, we hopefully have brought a bit of that classic, and also some classic British sensibility and humor as well.
Right. I got some 007 vibes from it in some parts. I felt a little bit of Austin Powers, maybe some Johnny English in there. And I was just like, I wonder if they kind of went back and looked at these genre films to kind of get, draw bits and pieces from those. I know that's, especially because this film is a comedy film, it's centered in comedy. Those are comedy genre films based in heists and stealing and things like that. So I was like, man, let me just ask and see if they kind of touched on those movies a little bit. But there is a lot of 90s influence in this. 90s R&B, as you mentioned the 90s movies. There's a lot of 90s R&B in there. Trying to throw on the romanticization, they kind of want to bring that back a little bit. Talk to me about implementing that into the film. You drop in some Peaches and Cream, some 112, Jagged Edge. Come on, I'm like, you're dropping all the hits, man. Come on.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you appreciated it. The 90s R&B thing is one of the things that Kyla Frye and I bond over in real life. So we've had many a night out or many an event that we've been to, and both of us see that 90s R&B era. That was when we were kind of growing up. That music, it was probably earlier, some of the tunes that when we were kind of coming into our teenage years, but both of us just love that vibe. That was my favorite kind of music when I was a teenager. And then when we were writing the characters, we thought, well, they're from opposite ends of the spectrum, or at least it seems.
Right.
So what would be a cool thing to make them think, oh, hang on, there's a common ground here in 90s R&B. Right. And then also, I guess in that white men can't jump Woody Harrelson kind of way, is that I spent a lot of my life surprising people, because people would start talking to me about music and they think I'll be, a Beatles guy or an indie music guy or a rock guy. And then I start talking about, Jagged Edge and Shaka Khan and Prince and, Luther Vandross. And so, because that's what my mom listened to, all R&B soul. So
nice.
It's also a subversion of that stereotype. So we like that idea of this apparently well-to-do Bond-esque refined character, but actually, when he goes out, actually he gets on the dance floor and he bumps and grinds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Listen, I would have appreciated some dance moves a little, especially at the wedding. I'm like, maybe they could kind of dance a little bit to R&B. You know what I mean? You guys have a playlist that you kind of played on set, or played in the background while trying to memorize lines?
Well, we in an ideal world, we would have had more budget. So we could have put in some of those tracks, but we just thought we need to spend the budget more on the actual movie.
Right, where it mattered most, right?
Yeah, but we're hoping that the likes of Jagged Edge, 112, Drew Hill, Blackstreet will watch this and get a kick out of it. And who knows, maybe on the next movie, they might let us use some tracks and we can get some dance scenes in there.
Listen, hopefully, I think if everybody watches it and streams the movie, I think you guys get, the fans, everybody listening and watching, get the numbers up. I think, Jagged Edge might send you guys, your team an email, but listen, yeah, a couple of songs. But speaking of, potential sequels and things like that, you guys do leave the ending a little open-ended, left for interpretation, maybe something you guys might want to explore down the line. Again, multiverse, so we never know what's going to happen in the multiverse.
Yeah.
Are there any plans to kind of, push the envelope a little further, kind of come back and revisit the story and give us a sequel at some point?
Let's see what the audience thinks. Let's see what the reaction is and how it all pans out. At the moment, we're just focusing on getting people to check it out in the first instance, and then obviously if the hunger's there and people want it, we're well up for doing a follow-up. I think there's definitely room to see where they would go, the characters after the credits roll. But regardless of that, I'd love to also work with Kyla and Sam, the director, again in some form, even if it's not necessarily these characters. It'd be cool just to maybe tackle a different genre or just explore another movie, maybe with a bit more of a bigger budget perhaps, and see where we go.
Yeah, definitely. So you do have a couple of other projects that you are currently working on. You have the Pad Tenant, which is obviously in production, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. In production in Florida, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Right? Am I right?
Well.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
He's got his research down.
I know. Listen, it's part of the job. So tell me about Pad Tenant.
Yeah. So it's a psychological thriller that I wrote and I play a role in. And I just came back from Florida on Sunday. We wrapped on that movie in Tampa, Florida. And it was a lot of fun. It's just a vintage like suspense thriller of impending danger that you can see happening, and you're shouting at the screen like, "What are you doing? Get out!" So it's I think it's going to be coming out. I don't know for sure. It's coming out sometime later next year. I think it's going to be it's going to go straight to TV or streaming. So I don't know what platform just yet. But yeah.
Listen, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I mean, we still got some time. We still 2023, late 2023 is still a long time away. So
there we go.
You do have another untitled project at the moment that's also being looked at by producers. Anything you can reveal about that?
Well, I don't know which one you mean. I've got a few.
I don't know. I didn't find no name. That's why I'm here. I'm just listening. Is there a name is there a working title that maybe we can attach to it for now?
I've got one movie that I've just finished writing that a good producer, director friend of mine is currently about to start pitching to people. Okay. I don't want to say too much about it, but it's kind of more of a gritty, I guess, blue collar drama action movie, kind of in the vibes of like Place Beyond the Pines. Okay. That kind of feel. So yeah, it's hopefully I'll have updates on that soon. It's got a bit of a father-son theme running through it. Okay. Kind of loosely based on me and my dad's, and it's a cross-Atlantic story, so it's going to be part set in England, part set in America.
Oh, nice. So that sounds very interesting. Down stories that have the father-son dynamic and things like that. But I do have some fun questions. We did talk about the painting and stuff like that. Obviously, everybody get to go watch that. It's a fun movie. We got to talk about Zack Snyder and Justice League. I know that stuff is years and years in the making, but I got you here. Like I said, I've been waiting to talk to you about it for years now. So tell me about that whole ordeal. There was this big campaign, fan theories, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, up until the actual release on HBO Max last year. how was these past 5 years for you regarding this movie?
So some listeners may know this, some listeners may not. I was cast in a role which was just described as an American military policeman in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was filmed in England, or a lot of it was filmed in England back in 2015, I think, when it was filmed. And I was there for a day or so, a couple of days on set, worked with Zack on a scene, and you know, I was just great. Obviously, there was a few years ago now. It was my first big American movie, and I'm a Snyder fan. I think Man of Steel's a masterpiece, and I don't understand people that didn't dig Batman v Superman. But hey, we've all got different opinions.
I don't want to put myself in the hot seat, but you know.
Yeah, and so it was a dream come true for me, and it was the first major Hollywood director I was working with. So I just had a blast. And then fast forward, Whedon comes on the project, Snyder's off the project. They released the Justice League Whedon's version. It doesn't go well. And then obviously we know all about the release the Snyder Cut movement. And then whilst that movement was happening, some fans like noticed my credit on IMDb as an uncredited military policeman character. And then they looked at my images and they started to theorize. And then there was a famous cosplayer called Liz Wonder, who I credit or blame for starting it off. She made this fan art of me and Hal Jordan in this green jacket that I did a photo shoot with. And then Zack Snyder liked that fan art. And then the fans ran with it. And obviously the fact that I was cut from the movie just made it even more, people theorize even more. And I'd signed an NDA, and my agent was like, don't say anything, don't get into trouble with Warner Brothers or whatever. So the fan art kept coming, loads of messages. And so it was it was kind of crazy, but also I didn't expect it. And it was also very inspiring because I grew up as a DC Comics guy, and I started to go, oh, you know, this is really. And then, you know, obviously through lockdown times in London, getting loads of amazing messages was really amazing. So I'm really grateful for that. And it gave me a real kick to keep going. And so, yeah. And then now, you know, people will message me and say, oh, so are you going to be Green Lantern? Are you going to be Hal Jordan? And I say, I mean, I haven't been contacted. I don't know what Warner Brothers are going to do moving forward. Obviously, there's been some changes, but you know, the answer is I'd love to work with Zack Snyder again, and I'd love to show people what my Hal Jordan would be like. So I guess we'll just see what happens. But you know, I'm a DC guy, and it'd be one of those roles that would be, you know, one of the biggest honors of a career. So
yeah, I was gonna follow up with that because I know you mentioned that before. It would be one of your big accolades. You know, to forget the critical acclaim and all that. Playing Hal Jordan would be your dream thing.
And playing actors talk about it's wonderful. It'd be wonderful to one day win an Oscar. It'd be wonderful to one day win a BAFTA. But to play a character like Hal Jordan, or to play Hal Jordan Green Lantern, would be just as big in terms of a life achievement, because he's so iconic and it reaches so many people and it means so much. So it'd be one of those roles where it would be, you know, everything would go into it, and I'd play it like it was the only role I'd ever play. You know what I mean? So it'd be
gotcha.
Yeah.
But how about that Top Gun role? I know you want to get into Top Gun Maverick, the sequel. I mean, are we going to? I think, listen, it kind of goes hand in hand. The aviator, the military. I mean,
yeah. Well,
I think if you can land one or the other, it might help. You know, kind
there you go. Well, maybe it is one or the other. I don't know. But obviously Top Gun's one of my favorite movies, and you know, my granddad was in the Royal Air Force.
Okay.
So I think he's 89. And I think he would just absolutely, it would just make his day if he saw his grandson getting into a fighter jet, getting ready to. He'd probably tell me, "Oh, I didn't quite believe, you should have, he'd know all the controls."
Nah, that's great. But I do have some fun questions before we wrap this all up and get out of here. We were talking about DC, Green Lantern, all that stuff. You got to let me know, what are some of your favorite comic book characters? Could be strictly DC, could be Marvel, DC, just comic book characters in general. But give me some of your favorites. Doesn't have to be. Let's just go with 3. Give me 3 of your favorite comic book characters. Yeah, I was gonna say 5, but we'll keep it down to 3.
Okay. The number 1 is Batman. He's the gateway drug to comic books and superheroes for me, as I think he might be for a lot of people. The Batman animated cartoon, Kevin Conroy, R.I.P.
R.I.P. to the icon, the definitive Batman.
Saturday mornings in my dad's apartment, father and son watching that animated series as a kid was just, that was like, it's so beyond a cartoon, that show. So Batman was my first way in, and then I'm trying to think of probably my favorite Marvel character. I say definitely my favorite Marvel character is Daredevil.
Okay, it's a great choice, by the way.
Well, again, maybe because I think a lot of Batman fans love Daredevil, and he is, he's like a working class Batman. I love the religious conflict that he's got, and the lawyer by day, and it's just the suit just always looks awesome, and just he's just such a great character. And then number 3, I feel like I should pick a wild card here.
Well, I'm always down for the wild cards. I'm interested.
What'll be a good wild card? I'm going to go for number 3, even though I mainly know him from one movie and some old radio shows that I listen to, is The Shadow.
The Shadow, okay.
That's my wild card pick, because I feel like The Shadow, like that Alec Baldwin movie in '94, is underrated, I think. And
I would have to go revisit that. I know what you're talking about, but I have not watched it in literal decades. So we'll have to go back and revisit that.
Yeah, I just love that old school, like 1920s, 1930s thing going on. And it's like old, he's got 2 6-shooters, and there's such a legacy of it, because Orson Welles did a radio show of it way back in the day. And I feel like that character has a lot of juice that you could do. Maybe like a pulpy TV series on a streamer, kind of like what they did with Daredevil. Just have like a villain of the week, and it just be a period adventure set in the 30s. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Nice, awesome. So I do have this one's a little on the more personal note. What you're doing now, you're an actor, writer, all that stuff. Is this something your 15-year-old self was picturing yourself doing at this point in time today? Did you say, is that something that my 15-year-old self pictured? So did your 15-year-old self picture yourself being the Sam Bradford, not Sam Bradford, I'm sorry, the Sam Benjamin, actor, screenwriter, working on films and things like that? Was it something that your 15-year-old self picture yourself doing at that age? Well, I think around that age, I had my midlife crisis early. Oh, that's extremely early. Because I went to a traditional state school in the north of England, and I never studied drama. The teachers laughed at you when you wanted to do something that wasn't like a traditional job. And suddenly I felt like I was being groomed into becoming something that I didn't want to be. And I think I almost had a premonition, and I thought, hang on a minute, you're going to end up in some miserable 9-to-5 that you don't like. Right. When really you haven't even tried to be an actor yet. You've already played it safe. So I think I had a bit of a mini crisis, but thankful for it. And then I thought, no, you know what? I got to go my own way. And it was kind of,
most of my family thought I was a bit crazy.
Mhm.
But I just thought I've got to give this a crack. I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I always had a inner belief, but if you would have, knocked on my bedroom door then and walked past the Jennifer Lopez poster on the wall, and said, hey, you're going to be starring in a movie that's been released in theaters in America and all this, then obviously I'd be like, what? I think I'd feel relief and just excitement at what was to come. And anyone else who's listening who has a wild idea or wants to go into a non-traditional profession, there's no rules, there's no safety. There's no safety at all in life, so you might as well go for it.
Right, exactly. I was gonna tell you this. Any words of inspiration to anybody who's listening, who's aspiring to either be a writer, a producer, actor, director? There you go. You've got to take your shot. So this was a fun one. You have 5 TV shows. I didn't know, not even 5. Let's go with one TV show that was canceled, and you would bring it back. You have the chance to bring back one TV show that was canceled. Which one would that be?
What a question.
It's a big hard question. It's obscure. I'm just like, that should be fun. Everybody has a favorite show.
I'm gonna give 2 answers.
I'll welcome 2 answers for that.
One of them is ER.
Okay.
The medical drama. It was what I used to watch every Thursday with my mom, and I started watching it just because my mom. We only had one big TV in the house, and it was either go to bed or if I wanted to stay up, I could watch ER. So I was like, I like it. And then after a while, I got sucked in, and it was like a mother-son regular viewing every Thursday. So I would love to bring it back. I know it wouldn't be the same because obviously actors came and went, and it wasn't. I don't feel like there was unfinished business with ER. It kind of came to a nice ending, but I don't think there's been any, for me, there hasn't been a medical drama that's grabbed me as much as that, just with meaty characters and new characters every week. So that'd be number one. And the other one, which I'm relating to one of my favorite comic book characters, is, and even though this is complete fantasy, I wish Batman 66 with Adam West.
Oh, you're taking it
carried
way
on,
carried
on for years. I think it went for 3 seasons.
I believe.
I think.
Yeah.
And imagine if they just carried it on, and the other villains they could have had in it, and Adam West, just what a guy.
For sure. I mean, listen, that's way beyond my time. Batman 66, but there are some cool moments that I've seen from the show. And I'm saying, you know what? One day I need to sit down and just indulge in the greatness that Adam West was as Batman at the time.
He's great.
So, that was a good pick. I was not expecting Batman 66. That's a nice one.
There you go.
All right, final question to get you out of here. I know we all got things to do, but your favorite, just to tie it in back into the payday, you got to give me your top 3 007 movies.
Did you say top 3?
Top 3 007 movies. James Bond. Let's see.
Okay, I'm going with.
I figured this would be a little tough one. I was like, I think I'm going with this one real nice into the payday. So there's some.
My first one is GoldenEye.
Oh, that's a great choice.
GoldenEye, incredible story, incredible theme by Tina Turner.
Right.
Pierce Brosnan's first outing as Bond. I just thought it had the right amount of grit, but also fun. It also had a great video game on the N64.
Oh, definitely. I'm pretty sure you played that back in the day. I'm pretty sure you played that.
And the second one, I'm torn. Between, I've got 3 remaining. So I've got to say From Russia with Love, because it's Sean Connery, and Sean Connery is James Bond. And that's my favorite Connery Bond movie. It's on the one on the train.
Right.
And it's like a gritty, like contained movie that's just really, really awesome. And still is watchable now. the number three is because I've got one Daniel Craig and I've got one Roger Moore.
Listen,
So
if you want to add an honorable mention out of those top
all right,
three, I'm all for it.
I'm gonna say Casino Royale.
Oh, I love Casino Royale. That's a great choice. Great
What?
choice.
Because I think that film is not only a Bond film, but it's also a film in its
Yep.
own right. You could watch that. That'd be the one film where if somebody didn't like James Bond, can't stand the character, can't stand the movies, that's the one film that I'd say just sit down and watch that one and you'll enjoy it. It's just, and Daniel Craig is incredible. He's a hometown boy from the Wirral, which is where I'm from, just outside of
Nice.
Liverpool in the north of England. So I got to represent him for that. And the honorable mention is Live and Let Die, Roger Moore, and I think it's in Jamaica where it's got the stunt where the car goes where it goes up the ramp and it does a
Yep.
complete twist.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, my favorite Roger Moore. So there's the honorable mention.
Nice. Listen, all great choices. There's a ton
What's
of
your
great
favorite?
Listen, my
One favorite.
one favorite, Casino Royale. Honestly, I had to go back and watch a lot of the
Older
007
ones.
movies. When I first started getting into James Bond and 007 was with Casino Royale. I had one of my cousins at the time, like, listen, have you ever watched 007, James Bond? I'm like, no, I've seen Family, just have it on, in the background.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't really pay much mind to it. And they were like, here's the DVD for Casino Royale. Sit down and watch 007 Casino Royale. And I was blown away. Is it outside of GoldenEye and all those movies, Casino Royale? Anytime anybody asks me about 007, have you watched Casino Royale though?
Yeah.
Have you watched Casino Royale?
It's amazing.
Go watch it. It is incredible. And it's like you said, it's very much a James Bond movie, but it's very much just a film in its own right. It's great from start to finish.
And you know what's crazy is because the same guy directed Casino Royale and GoldenEye.
Yeah, there you go.
And Martin Campbell, he's never spoken about, and I'm like, this guy's made two masterpieces,
incredible films.
There you go.
Listen, that's just him being humble. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But listen, Sam, it was a pleasure speaking to you about the Payday, Justice League, Green Lantern, comic books, literally everything. We talked about everything today. It was great. And we have more time, honestly, I will be here for a couple of hours with you, just talking about everything in the industry. But I appreciate you taking time out of your day to sit down and chat with us about the Payday and everything else in between. Like Sam said, the Payday is available video on demand, YouTube, Prime Video, Apple Movies,
and if you go
iTunes.
to the paydaymovie.com, paydaymovie.com, and it'll have the links to each of those. Maybe you could put it in the description.
Right. I would add links to all that in our YouTube description. All the links and all that will be on our website when we post the article for this interview. Sam, once again, I appreciate your time. Thank you. For everyone watching, hope you guys enjoyed the interview. As always, stay nerdy, my friends.